So today we're here with Linda Ulleseit, and we're going to talk about her new book, The Aloha Spirit. Can you tell us a little bit about the book?
This is my new book, The Aloha Spirit. It follows a character named Dolores from Hawaii, territorial Hawaii. It's set in 1922. And she grows up in Hawaii, has a very difficult life. Her mother dies when she's a baby. Her father abandons her when she's 7. She's raised in a Hawaiian family that really kind of treats her bad, works her hard. She marries when she's very young. Her husband becomes alcoholic and abusive. And despite all that, she's able to find herself and develop an aloha spirit within herself that allows her to role model an acceptable life for her children. It's basically a story of a woman overcoming adversity.
So what exactly is the Aloha Spirit?
Well, if you've been to Hawaii, people who've been to Hawaii always say that the natives there, the people who live there, are so friendly and so open and so happy and positive. And the Aloha Spirit is actually a state law in Hawaii, where you are supposed to show reverence and appreciation and love for all the living things and not living things around you. So it's about appreciating nature and appreciating the weather and appreciating the people around you. And when you can do that, when you can be centered in yourself, where you appreciate yourself and you appreciate everything around you, then everything is supposed to fall into place nicely and your life is perfect.
And how hard is it to have that spirit when you're in Hawaii?
In Hawaii, not hard at all.
I know, it's so gorgeous there.
Not for me.
So what particularly drew you to this story of Dolores? I believe she's one of your ancestors?
Yes, she's actually my husband's grandmother. And she was an amazing person. I remember going over to her house, and she always would welcome us with open arms, whether she knew we were coming or not. And I always had a feeling that if I showed up on the doorstep with 10 friends, she would invite everybody in and invite them home for dinner and everything, because she just was that kind of a woman. Very loving, very welcoming, very accepting. And I knew her early childhood had been tough. And so my initially starting to write the book was an exploration. How did she get there? How did she go from where she was to where the person she ended up being? Because people have bottomed out and had, horrible adult lives for much less of a problem childhood.
Okay. So do you have a favorite scene from the Aloha Spirit?
A lot of the scenes are very moving, but I think my favorite scene is where Dolores and her husband they're in Honolulu and they're getting aboard the steamship to come to San Francisco for the World's Fair. And at this point in their marriage, they're trying to make things work again. It's been kind of rocky, but they've kind of said, okay, we're going to take this trip. We're going to go to San Francisco. We're going to be gone a couple of months. We're going to go to the World's Fair, stay with my brother in California, and we're just going to have a good time. But she's also fallen in love with another man, and so that's kind of drawing her back to Honolulu. And she wants to make it work with her husband, but she's got this pull, right? So as she's standing on the deck of the ship, and they're describing the scene of the big send-off these ships used to get with the hula girls and the bands and all the color, you can see all the green hills of Honolulu behind them, and then off to the side she could see over, like, not see, but she knew that over in the left direction was Hickam Field, where the man that she really loved was at work.
Oh, that's sweet. But a tough decision.
It's a tough time in her life.
Yeah. So what do you hope that your readers take away from their reading experience?
I hope that by reading through this and seeing all of the things that she had to do to survive and to make her marriage work and to make her family work, I hope that people learn that you can, even under horrible situations, you can find something about yourself to respect and love. And once you've done that, then you can role model that for other people.
Oh, that's great. That's wonderful. So on your website, you have a blog post that talks about some of the Hawaiian myths. Now, did you weave any of those into your story?
The myths, I love the myths about Hawaii, superstitions, all sorts of things about Hawaii. They believe all sorts of things. My main character, Dolores, is Catholic. She's raised as a Catholic. She marries into a Catholic family. And if you were Catholic in the 1920s and 30s, you did not divorce. So a lot of people who have read the book say, hey, her life is so hard. Why didn't she just divorce him and leave? Well, number one, she had no other family support other than her husband's family. That was her support structure. And she was Catholic and she could not divorce. So that was a big thing for her. But she was also raised in Hawaii, lived a great part of her childhood with a Hawaiian family. So she did have a lot of the Hawaiian beliefs and superstitions and the Hawaiian culture that she grew up with. And of course, being in the islands, you also have a lot of Asian, Japanese, Korean, Chinese things going on there as far as myths and superstitions. My mother-in-law was a very superstitious woman. If you spilled salt, you'd have to take a pinch of it and throw it over your shoulder to ward off bad luck. I could never give her anything sharp for Christmas, knives or a pin. I think she could pin on her lapel. I couldn't give her anything like that because you can't give people something sharp. So if I gave her something like that, she would insist on giving me a penny. So it wasn't a gift. She'd buy it, right? So my husband's grandmother was the same way. Very superstitious about things. Everything was, she had more things for good luck and warding off evil spirits than I've ever seen in my life. So yes, a lot of those made it into the book.
But how fun.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, I'm sure sometimes it was annoying, but other times it's kind of fun because it's like, it brings the past to the present.
Yes.
Very cool. So you're currently working on your 6th novel. Can you tell us a little bit about what that one is?
Yes, it's back to an ancestor of mine. She was born at Fort Snelling in 1836. And at that time, Fort Snelling was in Wisconsin territory. And it was like the farthest west you could go and still be in civilization. So during the years of 1835 and 1836, everybody who was anybody went through Fort Snelling. At that time, Zachary Taylor was in charge of the fort. Jefferson Davis was there. Jefferson Davis eloped with Zachary Taylor's daughter. Dred Scott was there. He married his wife Harriet there at the fort in 1836. Even Mrs. Alexander Hamilton came and visited in 1837. So it was quite a bit going on, quite a lot of famous people. So I wanted to work really hard to find a story. Then I have to, now as I'm writing it, try not to grandstand and show all these people that they don't have anything to do with the story. That's me.
You just have to have a big giant party.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Big party.
Well, thank you, Linda, for taking time with me today to talk about your new book,
Welcome.
Aloha Spirit.
I love talking about the book.
Well, you know what? Books are our babies. And, just like our babies, we love them. So, I expect you to want to talk about it.